Knew I had to do this for you. Welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Bever. He is Mark Messina. Joining us today, we're having Kevin Coolidge back. He is the writer of the Blue Collar Bookseller series at NorthcentralPa.com. It's doing very, very well for us on the website. He also is going to help us out today, help us celebrate Independent Bookstore Day. We're talking a little bit about owning a bookstore, how it came to be, what are some of the things maybe people don't think about when it comes to owning a bookstore. Kevin, I promise we're going to let you talk. I have to forewarn every guest we have. I promise you're going to get a chance to talk. Before we get started here today, the most important question of every day, Mark, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling dark and gloomy. I feel like a stalactite. Here we are in Jeff's cave. I just explained this to Kevin before we went on. I was here first, then I had to leave. Jeff and I passed on the way out. The room was illuminated because there's a light switch over there that works. But then when I come back, Jeff has these like lava lamps going, and it's just dark, and it's like a 70s college dorm, and that's where we are.
I think it looks better though. Sometimes the brightness, the shadows, I think that looks pretty good right now.
But you like the post-apocalyptic movies, and I don't.
I do.
We've talked about that, and you're a gloomy guy, and I'm not. I'm bright and cheery.
I thrive in the gloominess of the world. I'm not gonna lie. I do. Some people,
I thrive in the gloominess. There is a title right there.
I think there were a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, there were certain aspects in lockdown and the pandemic and COVID that I struggled with just like everybody else. However, when they said, hey, we're gonna hang out at home and just kind of like huddle up, and like I was like, I'm okay with this.
You're okay?
I was all right with it for a little while.
So maybe Jeff's a mushroom.
House arrest for you. That works out just fine.
Say it again, Kevin.
Maybe Jeff's a mushroom.
Oh, there you go. Could be possible.
He's a fun guy, right?
Fun guy. There it is. Oh, we're not going to be.
Is he?
Well, thanks for coming on, Kevin.
There we go. That's it. We topped it. We went right to the punchline. There we go. There we go.
Kevin, thanks for coming back again. Real quick, before we dive into Independent Bookstore Day, can you just give people an idea who you are? Maybe just like 30, 60 seconds about the Blue Collar Bookseller series that you're doing for us at NorthcentralPA.com.
Okay, so I'm Kevin Coolidge. I own From My Shelf Books in Wellsboro with my wife, and I write the column, the Blue Collar Bookseller, because I come from a blue collar background, and that's how I approach book selling, is the right book to the right person. So it might not be a classic. It might be how to make the most out of your deer. It might be a column on how to make a good choice for a baby shower. It's all about books for everybody, because I believe there's a book for everybody. And if you disagree with me, it's because you just haven't found the right book yet.
Nice. So Independent Bookstore Day. Like you said, you guys have From My Shelf, Wellsboro, Pennsylvania. This is the first time I had ever heard of Independent Bookstore Day. I'm assuming it is for individuals, not your Barnes and Nobles, but those who are owning I don't want to call them mom and pop. Should I call them
It is a mom and pop. Yeah.
It's basically mom and pop. So it's smaller bookstores, it's independent bookstores. It's relatively new. It started about 2015, and it started off in California by a woman who she was a writer and editor, and she also belonged to the local bookseller association. And she started it, and it did really well in California. And it started to spread. In the first couple of years, we didn't really do anything about it because, I mean, there's so much to run in a bookstore, and the end of April is still kind of a quiet time for us. But it started to pick up speed, and then of course COVID hit, so it got changed. But it's really starting to be known, and much like Small Business Day, that's the first Saturday after Black Friday. I feel it really gives a highlight on independent bookstores.
So I know Jeff had asked how you acquired it, and I know the answer to this. You won it in a poker game, because how else would you acquire a bookstore?
Oh, well, I don't play poker, but I don't have a good poker face, so I stay away from that. But how I did is I've always loved to read, and I had a good selection of books. And what I did is I moved, and you have to take that decision of, is this a book I want to read now, or is this a book I'm going to keep? And I made the decision to keep most of them. And then I met my wife, and she had several books. She's a book lover. And when we moved in together, we ended up keeping most of the books, and it took up a lot of space. So because we lived in a small apartment, and we decided that we would start selling some of those. So there's a small spot opened up on our main street, and this was only 800 square feet. So we started just used books. But soon, so the books we had were mostly books that we had read at one time. Now, so there were some genres that were unrepresented. So and people are also going to come in and ask for a book that you don't have in stock. So we signed up with a wholesaler, and we started ordering new books. So we're now a mixture of new and used books. We started with 3,000, which sounds like a lot for a personal collection, but even at the 800 square feet, it looked kind of sparse.
Okay.
So we started adding new books, and we actually outgrew that space. So right now we're on 7 East Avenue. We are about 40,000 books and right around 12 or 1,300 square feet.
Wow. So real quick, you brought up your wife was a book lover. You kept most of your used books. What was your process for whether or not to keep a book or sell a book? Did you and your wife have the same process? Did you guys butt heads at all, trying to decide which ones were going to go up for sale?
We did, and it's like for me, and my personal choice was because there's some books that you read once, and that's it. I mean, it's a good book, but say, for example, a mystery. Once you read a mystery, it's not a mystery anymore to you. So that was pretty easy. But there's some books that I've moved around for a while when I was younger, and I sold them or gave them away, and then ended up buying them again to read them. So I'm like, well, this is a book I'm going to keep. So that was my decision. And for my wife, it's like, sometimes we read a lot of the same books, but we have several more genres that aren't as in common. Like I read more sci-fi than my wife does. I read fantasy, and she reads some fantasy, but she's really picky about her fantasy. She reads a lot more mysteries than I do, though I do read some mysteries. So it was, some of it was whether it's a book that you can get readily or not. Because some of the books I have, some of my older sci-fi books are out of print. So those I'm keeping. But a book that we can get again pretty readily, let's put this up for sale. And that's something that we're always changing, because sometimes you'll sell a book like, I should have kept that. But that's the nature of it.
So the key to the happy marriage is they don't speak. They just read. They just sit in silence in the room, one over here and one over there, and they never fight. That is a perfect design.
It does help, because I like to end my day with reading about a half hour before I go to bed. My wife does. So it's a nice quiet time. So yeah, it helps. And like all during the shutdown, like people were saying like, oh man, like I live, like I've never spent that much time with my significant other. And I was just thinking, boy, you guys are just beginners, because I've been working with my wife for 16 years.
So you had brought up 3,000 books is where you started. It looked pretty sparse. Like when you're selling, like as an independent bookstore, I would imagine browsing is really the name of the game. The more you have available, the more likely someone's going to see something that catches their eye. Is browsing the name of the game, like giving people as many options as possible? Or how do you what's your strategy as an independent bookseller?
It really varies. So I do, like, the nice thing about having new and used is what we have every day changes. So we get some used books in, we put those out. So we might have something that's out of print, but we have it for sale. But really, like, I think our best strength, and this is with a lot of independent bookstores, is everybody that works here reads. And we've had a couple employees that weren't huge readers, and they never really worked out that well. I mean, for example, we had one woman last year. I read about 100 books last year. And we had one of our employees read 200 books. Another one read like 150 or close to 200. So a lot of it is on personal recommendations, something that we've read. So, we talk to the people and see what they're looking for. And it's kind of like my wife calls it book matchmaking. So
Yeah,
that
this
way
reminds
you
me.
really get, because if you go to you know how you go to a restaurant, like, well, what's the chef eat? What does the chef cook for himself after the end of the day? So I mean, that's one of our strengths.
Yeah.
It reminds me. Have you ever seen the movie High Fidelity with John Cusack and Jack Black?
No, but I've heard of it.
Yeah,
This
that's a great movie.
This reminds me of that. It's a record store as opposed to a bookstore.
Okay.
But all the guys there are they are music lovers.
They live it.
They live it. And you've never seen You should see High Fidelity.
I've not seen High Fidelity.
You should see High Fidelity.
You said it's Cusack and who?
Jack Black.
Oh, then
Jack Black works for him. The one, the girl that was in Roseanne is in a little. Gilbert. Sarah Gilbert's in it a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. You'll like it.
No, I should definitely see it.
And it's about breakups, and you've been through like 50 of those.
I've been through too many of them. Kevin, when I think of independent bookstore, and I don't know why this is, I always think of the beach, because a lot of times when I'm on vacation or I visit the beach, there always seems to be an independent bookstore, so people walk in, find their book, go lay out on the beach. For people not from Wellsboro, there is a touristy feel to it. Growing up just outside of it, just with the foliage and the Grand Canyon, and there is kind of like this fall touristy season to it. Do you notice, do you guys pick up during tourist season, or how does that work not being a beach town?
Well, we definitely are a tourist town, and it definitely, our season usually begins once we get into May. And so for us, January through March, April is pretty slow because there's not many tourists, but we get tourists here starting in May, people visiting. Actually, we have a lot of tourists that come back every year, or they come back, they have, for example, a cabin here, and they come to the cabin every June, and they've been coming to us every June for the last 10 years. So yeah, it's definitely, and that's what makes it kind of fun and a challenge, because it's almost like we have two different customer demographics. So during, we have our regulars that have been with us for a long time, but then during the summer months, sometimes we draw people as far as 3 hours away. So it's a different feel. What somebody in Wellsboro reads as opposed to what somebody in Lancaster is reading. I mean, sometimes it's the same book, but sometimes it's different.
What do people from Blossburg read?
A little bit of everything. We have a lot of hunting books. We have a lot of outdoor books, and that's one of the nice things about being an independent bookstore in Wellsboro is that we had somebody come in that was quite conservative, and they were looking for books on firearms. And we have books on firearms. My wife actually did an estate for Bill Davis. Bill Davis was a well-known ballistic engineer. He was actually consulted on the Kennedy assassination. He helped fix the problems with the M16 in Vietnam. And when he passed, his business partner had us handle his estate, because he had a lot of books on guns and some very specific books on guns. And of course, this is Pennsylvania. So, I mean, I grew up using a gun as, I see it just as a tool. I've hunted. Everybody here has a shotgun. So we have more books on guns than, say, an independent bookstore in Philadelphia might have.
No, it's a very valid point.
Yeah.
So
I liked your thing about the beach. That was an astute observation.
You never think about independent bookstores being on the beach, but that is where I end up at the most independent bookstores.
There's a lot.
I go to the beach. Go ahead.
We belong to a Facebook group of independent booksellers, and there's quite a few of them on the beach. So that is, that is a good place to be if you're an independent bookstore.
But it does, as weird as it sounds, though, you do kind of fit right in, because I don't think people realize, especially if you're not from Tioga County, I don't know how many people realize, even in our 12-county region that we cover at NorthcentralPa.com, how much of a tourist attraction Wellsboro actually is.
It really is. I mean, we have the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon, which is very popular, and we have, sometimes I make the joke in Wellsboro, because I'm from here, so I can joke about it, that we're 10 years behind everything. Well, that's sometimes if you live here, sometimes that can be a drag, but it's a plus if you're coming from somewhere else and you want to slow down.
Mhm.
And that's what people do, is they come here to slow down sometimes.
Yeah, even Pine Creek, even Dickens during the holiday
Yep.
time. Just a lot of like touristy attractions that I think a lot of people don't associate Wellsboro with necessarily, unless you've been there consistently enough to know that.
It does have a feel for people. I remember I played in a golf tournament there years ago, and we joked that it's like it feels like a town that progress forgot because of the way of just Main Street looks with the division,
Yeah.
the division.
Well, didn't you, not to cut you off, didn't you go see a movie there?
Yeah.
And you were unaware of like the Arcadia and just kind of.
Is that what it's called? It was the
Yes.
100th year of the movie theater. It was the one that won Best Picture that was subtitled. It was Parasite. And my daughters wanted to see it, and it wasn't coming anywhere. And I Googled it, and it was in Wellsboro.
Yes.
So we drove up to Wellsboro to the Arcadia to see it, right? And this was right before it won. Okay. When it was nominated, it was the buzz. Then it wins, and then it comes everywhere. So we could have, if we'd have waited 3 weeks, we could have seen it in Williamsport. But yeah, we drove all the way to Wellsboro. But it is, I think the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon has a lot to do with it. I think
Sure.
they have, I think Wellsboro does a lot for its own tourist attraction. Like it's, I don't know which came first. Is it touristy, or do they do a lot to promote tourism? But we
do a lot to promote tourism. We have a pretty active Chamber of Commerce, so they work pretty hard.
But even some of the stuff, like even the theater, kind of kept its originality. The diner on
Did the theater survive the pandemic?
It did, and it's a theater we usually go. I go on date night with my wife about once a week, and we try to be at least two of those Saturdays we go to the Arcadia. And one of the things you mentioned about Parasite, the manager of the Arcadia does a really good job. He usually tries to get several of the pictures nominated for the Oscars in there that they might not get wide release, but he tries to get them in there at least a couple days.
One of the things that is surprising to me about it, I guess, when what's her name won for Judy, the girl who won for she played Judy Garland. I can't think. Renee Zellweger. Okay. My daughter really wanted to see. My daughter is an old soul and is a big Judy Garland fan, and we had to go to Harrisburg to see it because, like, when these things burst, a lot of times they go to the art house theaters to see how they do. Mm-hmm. And then they'll go to the bigger theaters later. But when you get some of these award winners that are not huge they're not comic books, they're not, a Star Wars spinoff or something like that, that you have to go far and wide to find them. So once we went to Harrisburg and once we went to Wellsboro.
Yeah, nice. Kevin, real quick before you go, can you just give your store one more plug and kind of give Independent Bookstore Day another plug if you'd like to?
Well, Independent Bookstore is, like I said, it's a celebration of independent bookstores. And if you haven't been to your independent bookstore lately, check it out. I know Otto's they're having an author tomorrow. They're going to do a display of local authors, including some of the Totally Ninja Raccoons, which I write. This weekend, we're having door prizes. We're having discounts on everything to kind of get people to show people some of what we have. So if you haven't, it's kind of like Mother's Day, and the fact that it's great to have a day specifically for your mother or specifically for independent stores, but you should appreciate your mother every day. So appreciate your local indie bookstore any day. So come on in.
Nice. And real quick, Wellsboro, PA, where can they find it though? Is there like a quick map to find it?
For our bookstore or
for your bookstore? Yep.
Well, our bookstore right now is, you can just come to Wellsboro and look for the construction. We're actually right behind it. There's a bridge, like right where we're at, like that runs under the road, and they're replacing. So, like the grocery store Tops, you can park in Tops parking lot right now and come around. We have a sign in the back that shows, and you can come around and come right in. Also, we're near the Wellsboro Diner, and that is that's on East Avenue and Main Street. So if you start walking east, like there'll be a sign, and you can just come right in. The sidewalks are still open, and we're open 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sundays we are open 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. now.
Yeah, hard to miss the diner when you're coming into Wellsboro.
If the diner closed, would the whole town shut down?
No.
No?
But I mean, we do love the diner. I mean, so it's definitely a good place to get lunch.
The diner seems like a big deal there.
I mean, it's landmarkish.
It is landmarkish. Yes, I would.
It is
when you pull up to the light.
I would,
without a doubt.
There would be people picketing "Save the Diner" if that was just like "Save the Clock Tower" in Back to the Future.
It would. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate the Blue Collar Bookseller series is really kicking butt at NorthcentralPa.com. So we look forward to that. Your last one was actually about Independent Bookstore Day.
Yes.
So I pulled it up. I was reading it this morning. So again, you can check out Kevin's work at NorthcentralPa.com, Blue Collar Bookseller series. And again, you can check out From My Shelf if you ever visit Wellsboro, PA. Independent Bookstore Day this weekend. Thank you so much, Kevin. We appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, have a good one.
Thanks,
You
Kevin.
too. Bye.
All right.
You should see High Fidelity. I would loan it to you, but you'll never watch it. You'll never give it back.
You know what's funny? So I'm still in unpacking mode. You'll appreciate.
Did you
this.
find it?
No, I'm still in unpacking. Well, I'm assuming you meant High Fidelity.
No.
Still in unpacking mode, and as I was unpacking, I found Just Friends on DVD, which I believe was a gift from you. It has to be a gift from you. I think you found it in like a $5 bin or like a $2.
I thought it was yours.
No, you got it for me.
Huh.
Yes. I also found Rebound.
That's the one I want back.
Yeah, I have to watch it yet. Someone watched it.
But you're not going to watch it.
No, I am now. Now that I'm getting settled, I'm going to watch it. I'm excited to watch it. You don't think I'm excited?
No, I don't, because it's been like a year and a half. You haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, but it's been a year and a half.
So let me ask you this.
Okay.
So Just Friends, which I think that's the one where he was the dude from New Jersey and he came back home and he was like the Hollywood
Ryan Reynolds
bigwig.
comes home. Yes.
Amy Smart,
really good.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Okay.
Since you have no way of watching it,
yes,
shouldn't you give it back?
I happily will.
Okay.
Do you think you'll watch it though?
I watched it once.
Your favorites.
I watced it once.
You said it was fine.
I said it was
you
fine.
Didn't love it.
I would be curious to watch it again.
Okay.
I mean, I kind of dig the nostalgia aspect of it. That is a genre that kind of hits with me, the kind of like going back home. But
we still pull the old Dinkelman whenever someone does something. Remember Dusty Dinkelman?
I have to watch it again.
You had something before we go. Did you want to talk about it today?
Yeah, well, I can tell it today. I don't know how long do we want to be. As I'm fading into the blackness here of.
I think it looks good.
Do you?
I do.
Do you?
I don't have any issues with it.
I think it looks like pretty soon it's just going to be like radio. So here's my life hack. I think I've told you this before about going to events with no tickets and scalping your way in. Now, because of COVID and they don't have a lot of paper tickets anymore, it's different. The world is different.
Okay.
But have I ever told you this story about just having the guts to show up at an event you'll always get in?
Wait, say this?
Just show up.
Yeah, but you got to scalp, right? So essentially what you're saying is like if you really want to go see something, show up.
Just
and as
show
long
up.
as you have the cash, you'll figure it out.
You're going to get in. I have never been locked out. Not locked out. But what would be a better word? I've never not gotten in, and I've never paid more than face value.
Okay.
So just go. So my latest example is yesterday. I want to send a special thank you to the Pittsburgh Pirates because my daughter's last final was from noon to 2. And because of, I think, safety regulations and COVID or whatever, I was not allowed to be in her dorm while she wasn't there. Because back when you and I went to school, we would have gone to take the final. Our parents would have cleared our stuff out.
Oh, the dorm. Yeah, it was a free-for-all.
It was a free-for-all.
Yes.
It's not that way anymore.
Okay.
So anyway, so I had time to kill, and the Pirates had a 12:35 start. So I was like, well, I'll go over to the stadium because there's going to be 5,000 people at this game because it's cold.
Can I ask a question? 12:30 on a Thursday?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know. On Thursdays, there's getaway day because people are traveling.
Okay.
The other team, Milwaukee, had to go somewhere. I don't know if they did it early because they didn't want to fight with the NFL draft. And the NFL draft was last night.
Okay.
There were a lot of afternoon games yesterday. A lot
Okay.
of them. So anyway, so I go over with no ticket, just trying to figure out. And I'd been to Pittsburgh back when Mike played, like a long time ago. I'd been to Pittsburgh 15 years ago, and it is an awesome stadium. PNC is an awesome baseball stadium.
Okay.
And it's one of those things I'd love to go back, but it's like, am I really going to drive? If I could drive somewhere. So anyway,
Sure.
So I'm there. So I swing by, and I got a couple hours to kill. So I'm going to try to get in for cheap. And well, now you've got to buy tickets. The ticket window isn't even open. There's nobody at ticket window.
Okay.
You've got to buy them through this Major League Baseball app on your phone. So I'm trying to figure this out. And you could see I'm in the seating section. I'm trying to see what's the cheapest. Should I get standing room only and move? I'm going through the process because I have like a half hour to kill. I'm there in plenty of time.
Okay.
And this guy yells over to me, "Are you looking for a ticket?" I said, "As a matter of fact, I am. Do you have one?" He goes, "Yeah, come with us." And I said, "Well, how much do you want for it?" He goes, "Don't worry about it." He goes, "We had another guy that was going to come. I get him for cheap. And last minute he canceled. There's 3. You're just going to have to sit with us. That's the only problem." So I was like, "Are you sure you don't want any money for it?" He goes, "Just buy me a drink when we get inside." Right. So when we got inside, he didn't end up wanting it. He wanted a hot dog. And I was like, "Well, do you want a drink too?" And he said, "No." Okay. So this is the third. 2 concerts now, 2 concerts and a baseball game where I've gotten just a ticket handed to me.
Yeah.
So I got in for free. Parking cost me way more than the ticket.
People must look at you and just be like, "This poor guy. We gotta help him."
I guess. I don't know. I was just standing there. The guy's like, "Do you want a ticket?"
Can I?
So just go. When in doubt. One was a Poison, Rat and Poison were a concert, and a girl gave me a ticket.
Yeah.
And one was Kiss and Def Leppard, and the guy gave us 2 tickets.
Yes, and then you went to
and then Pirates
game,
Brewers game.
This is my hot take on baseball tickets: just show up and buy standing room only.
I have never bought just standing room only.
Yes,
but
especially in Philadelphia, which I don't know if most stadiums. Pittsburgh kind of does this, but not as good at Philly. Philly, they have all these tray tables and they have all like right on the back end of it. So the other thing that happens too is you'll buy a seat for $20, but you're in the third deck.
Right.
You can buy a standing room only for $9 and you can go right down to the lower deck and just sit there with your drink and just watch the game if you don't mind standing.
See, and it depends local knowledge. Like in Baltimore, there were standing room only sections where you could only get in the standing room only section. But like at Pittsburgh yesterday, there were not a lot. When there's only 5,000 people in the park, there's not an overabundance of ushers and they didn't care. Like I didn't actually sit in our seats were great.
Yeah.
I sat like 5 rows in front of it because the shade line was right there.
Yeah. So you went.
And I was like, it's a lot warmer right there. I can tell. So I moved down, sat there. And then a couple innings later, the sun had moved, and I had to hop down like 2 more because it was the difference between being nice and being chilly.
Sure.
So, but again, like the ushers aren't fighting with us because we're not causing any problems and there's nobody there. So just have the guts to show up, and you will be shocked at how cheaply you can get in. And people have this image of like ticket scalpers, like they're kidnappers, like they're the guy with the old curly mustache that tied girls to the railroad tracks. Like most of them are people who a friend bailed at the last minute. Sure. They couldn't come for whatever reason. They have an extra ticket. They won tickets. They bought tickets and then they won tickets. That's how we got tickets to the one event.
I think what you're saying is 99% true. I think there's a cutoff line where there are events that are big enough though, where your theory taps out.
I will say my daughter and I went to see Metallica at Bryce Jordan, and with no tickets, don't need them because it just show up. We went to the window and asked, and they said it wasn't sold out, but they could count on like 2 hands how many tickets were left.
Okay.
And it was raining, and I didn't want to scalp in the rain, and we bought them.
Sure.
So you do have to make some intelligent game day decisions.
Yes.
Once you're there, but still. Never been frozen out.
No, I'm happy for you. That's impressive. Anything else going on in your world?
And Andrew McCutchen hit a home run on the first pitch, which you just don't see every day.
Wow.
And he's a former Pirate, and everyone. It was weird because first pitch, McCutchen's leading off for Milwaukee, hits a home run, and everyone cheered.
Yeah.
Even the Pirates fans were like, "Hey, he's still our guy. If somebody's going to do it, it might as well be you."
Him.
And they won 3-2, and he drove in all the runs. He had
It's
a
too
2-run
bad
single.
they can't be good.
Yes, it's a
That would
great
be-
stadium. Have you been there?
Oh yeah, the stadium.
It's a great stadium.
Well, not only it. There's something to. I have always said, and granted, I know none of this stuff is simple. I have always said with the crosscutters, it's too bad they weren't just a mile closer to the city. Like if you could grab a beer at the Bullfrog and then
if it was more neighborhoodish.
and then walk 1 minute to the stadium and walk in and go watch the game, or game ends and everybody just floods downtown and like
That's a very valid point.
and so
Because Pittsburgh does that beautifully.
Pittsburgh nailed it.
Yes.
Like I know not every city can do that, and there's restrictions.
There's
and,
infrastructure. Yes, I get it.
But how Pittsburgh pulled that off, it is well. I mean, that's what makes Boston so great, and that's what makes Chicago so great. And that's like it's not that these fields are out in the middle of, like Philly's trying to do that, but it's not. I'm trying to think of the right word I want to use. It's not natural.
It's not organic.
Yes, they are. So they built the Xfinity Center right there, and they're trying to like build it in. But the Pirates nailed it with that. You feel like you're walking right up.
Oh, and you can just walk everywhere. Baltimore is very good at that too.
Okay.
Yeah, because yes, it is a wonderful downtown.
Yeah.
You're just right. It's a neighborhood, but downtown.
If we made a short list of things, because now, because I'm not from Williamsport originally, but now I'm pushing a decade of like being in the area. If I made a short list of things I could do to like the city, I would pick up that baseball stadium and just put it a mile closer. I would just want it to be just
I never thought of it. But yeah, if it was closer to downtown, and you're right, people could do dinner and then walk over, and then
it would really change the whole perspective of not only downtown, but of the game. Like the game on Saturday would kind of be like a thing.
It would be an event as opposed to just over. Because you're right, people go to the Cutters game and then they leave.
Yes,
because it's what there is now.
They
also
the
because of
weird
its
part is
location, though,
they can't feed each other.
Correct.
Like so, there's no like we're gonna do better business because they're having a game Saturday, and the crosscutters can't say, well, we're gonna have a bigger crowd now because people are gonna go have dinner Saturday before they come. So it's just this weird thing where they're disconnected.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'd never thought of it before, but you're absolutely right.
Really.
Now there is the value of, in this, people drive by and see the stadium all the time when you're on. So there is that site advertising. But no, I think you're right. It would be more of an event if it was downtown.
But you can fix that stuff because, like, when I was a kid, I drove by, I saw the Genetti sign every time I drove by. So, like, you can.
Yeah, you could make it. No, you're right. It is. I'd never thought of it that way, but that is a very, very astute point.
Drives me
Good
nuts.
thinking. You got your brain functioning today.
I'm trying.
You dropped out foliage in there. You're really working it.
Foliage.
It's foliage.
We can buy an island for $72 million.
Huh?
We can buy an island for $72 million.
Where in the middle of the Susquehanna?
No, not in the middle. It's on Montana's Flathead Lake. Spans around 350 acres.
On a lake in Montana.
Yep, it's called Cromwell Island.
Why would anyone want an island on a lake in Montana?
Oh, I would.
Why would I take it for $100?
I think $72 million is cheap.
What would you do with it?
Oh, 350 acres off of a lake in Montana. It's beautiful. You don't think so? Montana's gorgeous. No? Really? I am shocked right now.
First of all, Montana's cold. Because you know what Montana touches? Canada.
Yeah.
And you know what's cold? Canada.
Uh-huh.
What? I don't understand why being on an island in a lake is desirable.
Really? Not even just like if you had just oodles of money. You don't know?
Like people think of island vacations as really nice because there's this intrinsic like, oh my God, it's 90 degrees. And it's like you put an island in Montana, it's not warm.
See,
So
I always
then
thought the
why is it
island-
better to be on an island as opposed to just being on the shore?
Well, I always thought going away to an island. I mean, obviously, yes, there's the beach and all that. I always thought though, like you can go to a beach in Florida, like you can go to a beach in the Carolinas, like you can go to a beach on the West Coast. I always thought the idea of the island was you literally can't get further away from your problems and stresses. That's how I always took the island vacation.
Oh, I just thought the island.
I can go to 90 degrees on a beach without having to leave the country. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but there's a little. But now this is just totally psychological, and I don't know why, because you went into the you can't get further away from your. I think when you go to an island vacation, it is all vacation because you're on an island. You can't go anywhere.
Right.
When you go to the beach, you can go wherever you want. So, like, if you go to South Beach in Miami, you can turn around and go to a Heats game that night. You can drive this, you can drive there. So you're at the beach, but you're still connected to everything else. The island disconnects you from. So you're on vacation. That's all there is.
Yeah. I think you're saying what I'm saying.
But I don't understand. But I get, again, it's only if it's warm.
You wouldn't want to go if it was. Well, here's the thing, though. I would imagine you and I talked about how beautiful Erie is for 2 months in the summer.
Okay.
And how beautiful.
I mean, that's what I've heard.
And how beautiful Chicago is. Like, so apparently, Chicago is like the most beautiful city to be in for 2 months out of the year.
Okay.
Okay. I would imagine a lake in Montana for 2 months out of the year is absolutely paradise. Don't you think so? Don't you think like a lake in Montana in July and August would be just absolutely pristine?
Is there anything else on it?
No.
So, like, if you need milk,
It's your 350
if you need
acres.
milk, you've got to ferry off the island to go get.
I'm sure you have like a boat and you like go and like.
Oh my God!
No,
that
you're
sounds,
out.
That sounds torturous.
It's not for you. We have a buddy that we go to in New Jersey, and that's how some of these people, like, that's how they live on these lakes in New Jersey. Like, just past, like, if you go on Route 80, like past Stroudsburg, and like you keep going, there's like Lake Tapacong, there's Lake.
I have a buddy that lives on a lake in New Jersey.
There you go. Yeah. So, but all these lakes have these islands like within the lakes, and they have houses on them. So, if you wanna,
when I've driven to his house, I just drive in.
Well,
I don't
so
feel like there's an island.
Yes. So there are houses on the outside of the lake that you just drive up to and live a normal life. What I'm saying is within all these lakes, there's all these patches of land, and some people put their lake houses on them. So, like, if you want to go do something, like, you clearly have to hop on the boat and like go out and like do your thing.
I think for you to own an island, in a lake. Again, I get if you could own Gilligan's Island, and it could be an island in an ocean where it's warm every day.
Okay.
That's different. For you to put a house on an island on a lake in New Jersey just means you hate all people and they hate you.
But see, like, okay, so we used to go to Keuka Lake. Have you ever been to Keuka Lake?
I've heard of it.
Okay, so Keuka Lake, like Lower State New York. Most of the places are built around the lake, so like you pull up in your boat, like you don't pull up.
And I've been to places like that.
Yeah. So like hypothetically, like it's a large lake in Montana. I'm sure they're not the only lake house on this lake in Montana. I'm sure there are places to eat. There's places to shop. You hop in the boat, you go. The only difference is you have your own 350-acre paradise on this lake.
You keep saying paradise.
You don't think it's a paradise?
No, I think it's all
350 acres on a lake in Montana. You don't.
But
think
see,
that's
like
paradise?
I like people, and I don't. I just showed a house to someone who's like, "Oh my gosh, I would hate being this close to people," because it was just a house in town. And I was like, "Well, I don't. What do you want to look at? You know, trees? Like, I don't think it's bad living this close to people."
Okay.
So I don't see it. Not in Montana. If you're selling me a 350, how much is it? 350 acre?
350 acres.
350 acre island, like off the coast of Aruba. Now, and here's another thing. I don't like the beach, but I can still see a market for that. Like, it's a lake house in Montana. Aren't there 1 billion lakes in Montana anyway? I mean, Minnesota's got like 13,000 of them. They couldn't have gotten all of them.
No, I'm sure there's a lot of lakes. There's also, you've seen Ozarks on Netflix.
No.
There's more coastline.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So there's the Ozarks, there's more coastline than, I forget what it is, like California or something.
Okay.
It's just not like beach coastline, obviously.
Right.
I forget the exact line of that show. Anybody who's seen Ozark, comment and tell me what it was. But yeah, there's more coastline there. So like, there's a lot of places like this. None of them have 350 acres untouched. Like you don't,
But
there's not a value to that.
You lose all the modern. You know what it probably doesn't have?
What?
Wi-Fi.
No, but now with Elon Musk has the Starlink, you're not even going to need it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. None of the modern conveniences, none of the.
Well, yes, I agree with you.
I just hear all
But I
these
would
people
say-
say, I just want to get away from everyone. They put these cabins,
Yeah.
You've seen the pictures on Facebook, this cabin out in the middle.
Yes.
How long could you live there?
You say
And people
no.
say forever, and I say an hour.
You say no modern conveniences. However, if you're buying a $72 million island in Montana, I'm sure you can afford to put in the modern conveniences.
Like dairy cows?
You don't
Like
think so?
what is the modern? What happens when you run out of stuff?
You act as if like if we were on this island and we got in a boat and we just started going, we just would see nothing forever. Like I'm sure when you are on the lake, there are other lake houses on the other side of the lake. Like
You know what? When I need like milk or bread or popcorn or anything, you know what I don't want as part of the process? A boat.
oh really? You're not a
No,
boat man?
no, I just want to go get it. Like, give me a Walmart, give me a Turkey Hill, give me a Sheetz, give me a something, give me a Wise Markets, and I will just go and get it.
I noticed you left Wawa out. Are you not a Wawa fan?
We don't have any Wawas here.
Well, I mean, the state of Pennsylvania has Wawas.
We're not North Central PA.
Yeah, I know. So are
Well,
you not a Wawa fan?
Forget them. I mean, Wawa's fine. I never knew Wawa was any different than anything else until. As far as those kind of stores go, in my world, there's like Sheetz.
Yeah.
And there's all the other ones.
Interesting. I dated a girl from Delco, and in Delco, it's.
I do
it's
see Turkey
Wawa.
Hill is upping their game.
Sure. Have you ever been to the Turkey Hill Experience? Have you ever heard of that? Mm-mm. They have like you go and you see how they make the ice cream and like all this stuff. You ever heard of that?
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty.
See, and this is one of the things.
It's kind of like Hershey.
Okay,
but it's Turkey Hill.
Because I've gone my ice cream free April and I've almost made it. Sunday's the day.
You haven't had any ice cream?
I've had no ice cream. I've had no. This is my breakdown. I know you don't care. I had a piece of birthday cake one day because it was someone's birthday and I didn't want to be rude.
No, it's over.
I had a cupcake on Easter.
Okay.
And I had like when I've been traveling because if we stop at a minute, I had a honey bun.
Okay.
At the hotel, like yesterday morning, I had a sticky bun for so. Like I've avoided those things at home, but when you're kind of on the road and when you're eating the continental breakfast, it's a little more challenging. Sure. But I've had no ice cream. I've had no donuts. And I'm a day away. But that's another reason. So I've kind of tried to stay out of Turkey Hill. Okay. I mean, I've been in Turkey Hill, but it's kind of like in and out because the ice cream can be alluring. Yeah. And this month I couldn't give in. So I've been.
So what's your game plan on May 1st?
I don't know. I don't really know.
You might have to go to Eaters.
And here's the funny thing. I've not lost a pound. And I don't know if I'm any healthier. I just feel like I've accomplished something.
You're probably supplementing without even realize you're supplementing.
I mean, I knew it came to the point. And listen, I just, I had chicken parm for lunch. I've already had French fries today. It's not like I'm
dieting.
Yeah, I'm not the healthiest eater. Right. I'm not. I've cut out ice cream and donuts.
Yeah.
I thought of this. We should do this. Right? And I say we should, meaning in the back of my mind, we absolutely shouldn't. We should do, because as you just take a sip of your cherry Coke, is it cherry Coke or cherry Pepsi? I can't remember.
Today we're going with cherry
Coke. Okay.
Today.
And we've talked about our affinity for carbonated beverages.
Yeah.
What if you did, combining this with weight loss, what if you did a month of diet soda?
Diet
Could
soda?
You do it?
No, I would rather do no soda.
It's awful, isn't it?
I would rather do no soda. And well, here's the other part too. I've done this before, and my girlfriend will verify this. I've gone weeks, months without soda. For me, like I just enjoy it.
Have you ever tried to do diet soda? Have you ever been like,
Well, no, I've never like said like I'm only drinking diet soda now, but like, have I had a diet soda because
Well,
like,
yes.
that was the option? Yes, and it's awful.
It is awful.
Yes. So like, I literally would enjoy myself more doing no soda because I would rather have like a juice or
Something that you enjoy.
or a Propel that I would enjoy more than the diet soda.
I wonder if and you are, see, I'm a one a day. You drink more than one soda a day, don't you?
I definitely drink more than one soda a day. I'm probably on a normal day, I'm probably 2 sodas. On some weekends, because like my favorite drink is rum. So on some weekends, I'm probably like way over like 3-4 sodas.
You don't have rum and iced tea? It doesn't work?
I don't like it.
I was kidding. I never heard of that.
But this is a weird thing though, because people are always like, well, cut back to soda, stuff like that. But if you go through some of the stuff like iced teas and different things, like there's not a ton of difference.
Unsweetened.
Yeah,
unsweetened.
But that's the thing. Yeah, unsweetened.
Unsweetened.
Like, we're not now.
So I was gonna say, I wonder what, just nothing else in life, just going from regular soda to diet soda for a month, if we would lose weight.
I would say yes. So here, I'm going to pull a you, and I'm going to give you this anecdote from out of nowhere. Remember Kendrick Perkins? He was a center. A lot of people would know Kendrick Perkins because now he actually does ESPN. He's on like all the shows. And Kendrick Perkins at one point when he came to the league, he was like 330, 340 pounds. He was massive. One of the things that they did when he came into the league, they kept the same workout routine, same diet, same everything. The only thing they changed was during his workouts, he would drink water or Propel instead of Gatorade. And he lost over 30 pounds in 3 months. And that was the only change to the regimen because Gatorade is so high in calorie intake. So just cutting, and here's the other thing too, he was a big dude. He was crushing 6 packs of Gatorades like at one workout.
Right.
So, he's taking in, 2,000 calories just in the Gatorades. So literally they just did that. 30 pounds changed nothing else. So when you say to me, like, do I think? Yes, I absolutely do.
I have a buddy who, and I don't know what, I'd have to get the exact measurements, but he told me he got on the scale the one day and he was heavier than he'd ever been. And he was in his 40s at the time when this happened. And he said, it was in the winter. And he's like, literally, I locked myself in the house. We did not go out. And he said, I took away soda and alcohol for like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And he lost something like 20 or 25 pounds.
Okay.
Just from the calorie intake. And he did nothing different either.
Yeah.
So I believe the whole Gatorade to water.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, people think Gatorade is one. It's better than a lot of things, but it's more sugary than people think.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It is. It is, because if you think about what it's to replenish, like it's to refuel, like it's putting everything you just lost back in. So like if you're trying to lose weight and you're drinking Gatorades, it's not happening. Like it's really, really tough to do that. So
nope. There you go. So you are in for the diet soda challenge for a month. Good.
Why diet soda though?
I just think I just wonder
because
you go from whatever calories to 0 calories, and I just wonder what that.
Right, but I'd rather do Propel.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. Listen, it's
no, you do it on that.
Yeah, it's bad. I've tried before, and it's just
the diet soda thing.
Yeah,
it's just
just not good.
There's just other things to drink if your goal is to not drink soda, which you and I agree is delicious.
It's not the goal. Yeah, it's not. Soda is delicious.
Yes. Then the goal should not be to drink something that's foul. Like find something else that you somewhat enjoy. My problem, you and I talked about, I just hate water. I think it's bland. I don't think it tastes good. All this like, oh, on a hot day and it's refreshing. Like it's not. I understand its nutritional value. I understand it's good for you. Like, but you can't tell me that it tastes good. It does not taste good.
I think we might have discussed this before. There are places that water is the best. Out of our garden hose.
That was coming.
Out of the orange spigot things that they used to have in the park. Do they still have those?
Maybe.
Where you're playing basketball or whatever, and there's that, or you have to crank it and you wait till, they have to turn it on at the beginning of the season. And when you were a little kid and a coach would just have an igloo cooler and you would just put your mouth under it and it would just, in the middle of practice, like those were the best.
You don't think
I can't.
You don't think you were just really thirsty at those moments?
Yes, but that's why it was so delicious.
Right.
But if I'm sitting at if I'm out to eat and there's a glass with ice and they pour water in it, no, I don't even touch it. But out of a garden hose, it could not be more delicious.
I think there's two things that have always driven me nuts. One is water, because you just can't convince me it has a flavor or taste. Like you can't. But the other one is coffee, because it's an acquired taste. Like I've never met somebody that on their first try liked coffee. And so like people are like, well, you get used to it. And I'm like, yeah, you probably just don't like coffee then. Like I've never met somebody that naturally, just instinctually likes coffee.
Well, see, now then I'll ask you this from being and this is where I hate coffee. Mm-hmm. Well, I shouldn't even say I hate it. I never really had it. Like the first time I ever sipped it, I thought it was nasty. I don't know if I've ever sipped it again.
Yeah.
But this is from a guy who also doesn't drink. Isn't it the same with beer?
I've met people though, like the wheat, the barley. Like I've met people like the first time they've tried beer, like it was good. Like they didn't mind the taste.
Okay, there's a difference between A, it's good, and B, I didn't mind.
But no, but I'm
like
saying,
there's
have you
like the
ever
first
seen?
time,
but there is, because have you ever seen somebody take a cup of coffee for the first time and go like not bad? Like nobody likes coffee the first
Don't
time.
you think most people the first time they have beer, it's not good?
Yes, but more people like beer the first time.
Well, it's in the same category.
Yes, I would agree with that. It is an acquired taste, as they say. Yes. Now here's the funny part. The older I've gotten, there are certain, but see, some of this might just be society, because when I was in college, I hated beer. Like it didn't taste good. Now as I get older, there's all these different kinds and styles and shandies and ales, and I've actually begun. There's a couple that I enjoy. Like I actually will. Like I won't crave them, but I'll actually, like when I see it, I'm like, ooh, I'm getting that. Like that looks good.
What is your one go-to beer? If you were wherever and they had everything on tap.
So everything. So there's two things. There is I'm trying to think where to start. So the spoiled Jeff, there is a grapefruit ale. It's only one of its kind, and it's at Epcot and Disney. They serve it in Germany. So you go to
so you got to go to Germany. I've been to Epcot.
Go to Germany and Epcot, and it's where the guy plays the big long thing, and you walk in, and it's a buffet style, whatever. They have like a grapefruit, whatever. It's the only kind, and it is unbelievable. Like it's absurd that if they ever actually decided to like distribute, like it would be its own thing. But they keep it right there in Epcot. Okay. So that's number one. Two, the more realistic one. I enjoy, there's a Funk Brewing in Emmaus, Pennsylvania. Okay. They're starting to spread now throughout. They're a little neutral-ish, like they're being successful and kind of spreading out. Funk has a peach shandy that is by far, it might be the only beer that I've ever actually, like on a hot day, I'm going to go have a peach shandy. I'm not getting anything else. This is what I'm doing.
So do those matter whether it's draft or bottled?
Mm-mm.
Well, the one at Epcot it's not bottled, right?
It's not bottled.
It's all draft.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other one is.
You can get both. I mean, if you're at a Funk Brewery, I'm sure they have it.
Okay, but you drink out.
I drink it out of the can.
Okay.
That's how actually, you know what? Wegmans just started having it at the end of last summer.
Oh, there you go.
Yes. So they just started putting out. But again, I'm in my 30s now, and I've found maybe 3 or 4 beers that I like actually enjoy. And think about, how many beers are in the world? It's, so even to this day. But the point I'm being, 10 years ago, the idea that there would be like a handful of beers that I would like want to drink was crazy. But now, I guess the point I'm making you is I still feel the same way about coffee. Like I don't want to touch it. I don't like the smell of it.
This is what and again, I can't talk intelligently about this because I don't drink coffee, but it sounds more and more like a milkshake to me. Like they're so sugary. There's so much this. Like when you drive by. Are you
talking about beer or about coffee?
Coffee.
Sorry. Oh, okay.
They have, they have whipped cream topping. They have this and they have that. And it's more and more sugar. It looks like it to me.
Yeah.
Because like when I was a kid, coffee was Folgers or Maxwell House or Taster's Choice. Mm-hmm. And now it's a drink.
Fancy.
It is fancy, yes.
My dad puts honey in his.
In coffee?
Yes.
My mom puts honey in tea.
Okay. See, I've heard of the honey and tea. My dad's one of the only people I've ever heard about putting honey in his coffee.
Huh.
But it's a sweetener.
I'd heard this. This is a fun fact that may or may not be true. Honey is like the only natural food that will never go bad.
Say that again. Honey is the only natural food.
It's
not processed at all. It's in nature.
It doesn't go rotten.
Honey does not go rotten. I've never heard that before.
I've never looked it up,
okay.
But I heard it, and when I thought of it, it's like,
what about syrup?
Natural maple syrup. I don't know. It's a good question.
Good question.
I don't even know if honey's right, but I heard it, and when I thought about it, I was like, well, I guess maybe.
I heard something. Speaking of food, can I tell you this and be nerdy for a second?
Sure.
So I went down one of my rabbit holes again last night, but you'll appreciate this. So the Earth's food supply, because obviously I had told you about the wheat supply in Ukraine and everything else. So I was down that deeper into that rabbit hole than before. So the Earth's food supply right now, it's on a 90-day cycle. So when we used to talk about the supply chain and all this, actually, remember when the whole bread thing happened here in Williamsport?
Yes.
And I was like, they were like, why is this happening? And the more we read into it, it was because the city is on basically a 3-day cycle. So the world's food supply, when they average it all out, is on a 90-day cycle. So right now, hypothetically, if we just stopped making food, the world could technically survive for 90 days. Now, it would be less than that because not everybody would be able to get to it and all that stuff. But hypothetically, 90-day supply, okay? Every country, though, is different. So America, they said, is right around 30 days. So right now, America's food is about 30 days in storage, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Are you with me so far?
I just got a text from someone that says, why are you sitting in the dark? So I'm trying to... They must not have seen the beginning.
You'll get it figured out.
It's a cave. We're in a cave. I'm in a cave today, not Jeff.
So America, 30-day supply and storage, right? But there's other countries in the world, like Africa, all these other places, they're on a 0-day supply, meaning every day they need food delivered. It's like if it gets cut off, they're in trouble. China, right now, China has over a year and a half's worth of food in storage.
Really?
Yes. So a lot of different angles with that. So obviously China's best ready to, if the world went kapooey, like they would have a year and a half's worth. Yeah, kapooey. They would have a year and a half's worth of food. The other issue, though, is they're going to be one of the only ones, like when this wheat shortage comes up and everything else, they're going to be one of the only people that is going to be able to sell off their food storage at a price that is reasonable to other countries that are desperate. And so they're saying that China is basically going to long play this and they will be able to leverage it even worse than what they already have with some of these countries. So remember we had talked about like all their transportation deals in Africa and now all these African nations can't pay them back and all this. Right. From what I'm reading and from what other experts are saying, it's only going to get worse because now they're going to be able to leverage food supply.
Well, there you go.
Pretty crazy.
Yes.
Isn't it? A year and a half worth of food supply and storage for China. Bonkers.
Yes, it is.
It also shows you, like, there's so, like, I know people don't like China, and I totally understand why I get it. Like, I don't love a lot of stuff that China does, but there are moments like that where they're so much more, I don't want to say organized, because it's easy to be organized when you're just telling your people to shut up and do what we tell you to do, right? So, like, I'm not, like, commending China, but there are moments where I just look at, like, their supplies and their infrastructure, and I'm just like, it is impressive. Like, it is amazing how much more prepared they are for some stuff than other countries are.
Yeah. I wonder if America has the ability, and I'm not saying that Russia's better, or that China's better, because obviously their human rights aspects aren't good.
That's why it's easy to do it when you just tell people to shut up.
Right.
Like it's.
But does America have the ability to look at other countries and just say where those countries are better than we are? And I say this because when I was picking up my daughter yesterday from college, we were eating in a restaurant before we hit the road, and on the TVs there was a Japanese baseball game. So I don't know what, sports channel it was on, but they were showing a Japanese baseball game. And my daughter had, when she was in high school, she had worked at an usher at the Little League World Series.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, when I see this, all I remember is when the teams from Japan came to the Little League World Series, when the game was over and their family section cleared out, it was clean.
Yeah.
They cleaned up after themselves. It
Right.
was spotless.
Yeah.
And nobody else's section, and we don't do that. We don't clean. We leave it there. We leave our whatever we bought, we leave it on the floor. We don't carry it to a trash can. So and it is not.
It's a cultural thing.
It is a cultural thing.
Well,
and they are obviously, no one would look at us and say we're better because we leave our trash behind, and they're worse because they pick up their trash.
Yeah.
But
so we were. I'm trying to think how I want to tell this story. So I went to Pittsburgh last weekend for a girls basketball tournament. And when you're at these AAU tournaments, like the benches just clear off, next one comes on, because there's only like 3 minutes between games.
Right.
So you don't have time to dilly-dally around. So a lot of times what happens is a team will clear out and you will come to the bench. And there are teams that spotless, like every kid grabs their bottle, and then there are other teams where like you come to sit down after them and it is like a bomb of garbage just exploded, like raccoons went through a trash can under the bench before you sit down. But there's
Ninja raccoons?
Say it again.
Ninja raccoons?
Ninja raccoons. There is only one trend to this, and can you guess what that is?
And you're saying this is at a girls' tournament or any tournament?
Any tournament.
Oh, girls or boys?
Yes. If you play after a girls' team,
it's fine.
It is spotless. If you play after a boys' team, it is an absolute disaster. And it is every time. It is like, nothing in science is 100% certainty. The garbage collection at an AAU tournament bench is a 100% certainty
I could see
of whether or not it's boys or girls that play before you.
No,
so not only is it cultural, but it's also like there's some other parts of it that are, gender or whatever else.
Don't you have coaches? Like after every game, I'm like, pick up all your stuff out of the dugout. Don't leave the dugout a mess.
I think there's different types of coaches, parents, leaders, like wherever. I think some leaders grab it themselves. I think some leaders say like, make sure you have your garbage. And the other part too, I think sometimes like just kids are trained to do it and some kids aren't. Because there's coaches out there that never say it, and their kids pick it up and do what they're.
No, I get it. You know what's funny, and this is one that I've heard this from Little League coaches, and I've never tried this myself.
Yeah.
But they have at the team meeting, they will say at the beginning of the year, if your kid leaves anything in the dugout afterwards when he's gone and leaves a batting glove, a helmet, anything, I will sell it back to him for $1.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the year, they have a pizza party with all the money collected, and the coaches will tell you, I made $33 this year, and I bought. But it is that is a funny, because if you've ever been around a sport like Little League, where there is, it's not just your glove anymore. It's your glove, your helmet. You've got batting gloves. You've got some kids have multiple gloves and multiple bats, and it always cracks me up when the kids show up and they have 2 bats, and I was like, what do you have? Like, is there a warm-up bat? Is there, you use the same bat all year. Why do you carry 2? Does it balance your bag out? But so that is, I've heard coaches that said, it is understood. All the parents know at the beginning of the season, I will sell it back to you for $1. And at the end of the year, it will pay for our team party, and it always does.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I've never heard that before.
So next year off the bench at Loyal Sock, you can sell warm-ups back. You can sell.
Yeah. It is so we had like the family farm and everything else. And I remember being a kid and my parents would tell me, they'd be like, if you leave something here, just plan on never seeing it again. Because there's too many people. There's so many people are going up, they're going down. They're like, so if you
and you have a shady family. I mean, they'll take it, they'll sell it though.
So if you leave something like that's it. And I don't know why. Like I'm not great at remembering things. Like I'm very forgetful of that. But when it comes to like my things, like my individual stuff, I almost never leave. Like not to call you out, you are constantly doubling back. You know what I'm saying? Like you forgot your hat, your wallet, your coat, your phone, whatever. How many times have you ever seen me like double back or like it's just, but it was so ingrained in me when I was like a little kid that now like that just kind of stays. And again, like I can't remember names, I can't remember phone numbers or dates. Like I have a bad memory, but when it comes to like remembering my individual effects, like I'm very good at it.
See, both my mom and my ex-wife would say the same thing, because I will come back in the house 2 or 3 times sometimes before I leave.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I don't like, I do the final check in the car. Like I sit down in the car, and that's when, because you can't really do it in the house.
I disagree.
Like you take a load of stuff out, you know, you've got your bag and you've got your stuff, and you sit down and you're like, oh, and then
I think but I'm going to call you out on that one, because that's just
all right, I should get a drink. I'm going to get a drink. And then I go back, and then I get if I want to grab this, and so I will do it, but that's my process. I don't do the final check until I get to the car.
That's a struggle though. Like I would struggle. Like if my girlfriend did the final check in the car and then she had to run back in, like I would be like you need to adjust your process.
I could see, but it's not because you haven't left yet. It's all nothing's.
But you're out of the
gone.
house. What do you mean you haven't left yet?
But
the
you
door
haven't
is
left.
Closed.
If you forgot something, you can just run back in again.
Oh my gosh. Well, you do it enough times.
I do. It is
nothing
weird,
wrong with
but
it.
it works for me. It works for me.
But I think there's some, like, I think there are other kids or stuff like that where, like, if you don't have, like, that was so random that was ingrained into me. Because, like, if we didn't have that family cabinet, like, if we didn't have that family cabinet and never that experience, like, I'm never that way. Like, I'm only that way because of what happened.
And I think, too, and this would be an interesting question for parents, that because in the house, mom usually is the one that does more of the cleaning than dad, not to be, gender stereotypical, but I think that's just the way life is. So I think growing up, boys get much more of a pass than girls do. That's why when you brought it up, I guessed right away whether it was a girls' team or a boys' team.
Yeah.
Like that was the answer to me was obvious. And I think that I would suspect, because I know guys that get to the locker room don't have their warm up. Do you have a warm up? They get to the next game. Hey, I can't find my warm up. Did you pick it up? Like they just don't know.
Yeah.
And I would bet that in speaking in general, that girls are raised differently, that mom just picks up after the boys because mom picks up after her husband.
Sure.
But the girls are treated differently or expected differently, or that would be an interesting societal question.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else before we go?
No, I mean, Chris Paul with a record setter last night. The draft, Eagles fans are very happy with the draft.
Yeah.
Steeler fans took a guy from Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
So now this is one of the things I love about the draft is watching these college fans, pro fans. Like last year, the Cowboys took Penn Stater. So these people who love Penn State now kind of have to like the Cowboys a little, even though they don't. They hate them. And now you've got Steeler fans who are Penn State love Penn State, love the Steelers, and now they're rooting for a guy at Pitt, and they didn't really. Not that Penn State hates Pitt. It's not like Ohio State or Michigan, but it's still Pitt, and so that'll be interesting. I think one of the other things I went through this just as I was reading through. There's nothing that is a bigger joke than grading the draft 24 hours after it happened, because nobody knows how these people are going to play, but they're all over.
I think you can. Yes. But I think what I would say is, like, are you grading in the moment or are you grading long term? Because I think a lot of these people, like, when they grade, they go, this team got an A because this guy's not going to do anything. But you could say, like, this team gets an A because in the moment right now, that was the best player available.
I guess.
And
but the best player available is all speculation because you don't know how they're going to do it.
I get that.
I would love to see him grade it 3 years later and instead of 3 hours later.
Sure.
But
that's not fun.
But nobody would read it then.
That's not fun.
But I think when you go through, one of the fascinating things to look at is how many NFL teams pick regionally. Mm-hmm. Like Pittsburgh took the quarterback from Pitt. Sure. And there were lots of people that didn't have him as the number one quarterback on the board. Carolina took a guy from NC State. Mm-hmm. The Texans took a guy from one of the Texas schools. The Titans took a guy from Arkansas. Like when you look around, and it happens, because you keep seeing these things in local news. And I tell this story. The Eagles ended up with Brian Westbrook, who went to Villanova, and nobody knew who he was.
Sure.
And Andy Reid kept saying on Sunday mornings, I would get up and read the paper, and all I kept reading about was how this kid ran all over the field for Villanova.
Yeah.
And after a while, we're like, maybe we should look at him. And then he ended up having a really, like a 12-year NFL career.
Right.
So when you go through, it's not all of them, obviously, but there is a lot of, even Washington took a guy from Penn State.
Yeah.
And you could argue that the closest major college football program to Washington, D.C. would be Happy Valley. So I don't know. But yes, how big it is and how all the scouting and stuff. And a lot of times they take a guy that's close by anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
So for whatever that's worth.
No, it's worth something. It's really the last one that's kind of like that. Because you don't see a lot of that in the NBA does almost none of that.
The NBA is global.
And the MLB doesn't either. So
no,
yeah, you're right.
It's interesting.
But the NFL is kind of in its own bubble too.
Mm-hmm.
It's an American sport that really, like, there are no foreign prospects in the NFL draft.
No, not really.
So I think that is probably a reason why it still lends itself to regional drafting.
That's a very valid point. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They don't have to go watch some 7-footer from France and then decide if they should take the kid from, Bucknell.
Yes. No, I'm with you.
Just saying. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news. Mark, before we leave, give this one more plug.
Oh, yeah. Do this. A contest. Nominate your mom, best mom in North Central PA. Why your mom should win. She can win overnight stay at the Genetti, gift card to the restaurant there, Windows on 4th, a gift card to Solar Sun Tanning here in Williamsport. So, yeah, it's a cute little contest for you to tell how wonderful your mom is. We've got 20-some applicants entries already. So get your entry in the hopper. I think we're running it through, we still got another while, so sometime through next week, but do it this weekend. Do it while you're thinking of it. Show mom how much you love her. And, yeah, there you go.
All right. Good stuff.
And support your local independent bookstores. I know we talked about up in Wellsboro, obviously, Otto's in Williamsport, and they are scattered all over the place.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that is tomorrow or this weekend or whatever. But as Kevin said, you should support them every day. But this is the day. This is the weekend of recognition. So if you're going to buy a book this weekend, if you're planning on what you're reading at the beach or what you're reading this summer, just head into one of these stores and window shop or shelf shop, I guess would be the old-fashioned way.
That's right. Browsing.
Yeah, there you go.
Not
scrolling.
They used to browse.
Not scrolling. Browsing.
That's right.
But scroll through your phone to get to us.
Yes, that's the only way. Thank you for watching the Midday Show, the almost Emmy-nominated
Almost
Midday
Emmy
Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. And